Welcome back to another episode of Political Pulse. I'm Lise Fonseca.
And I'm Isabella Rocha. Vice President J.D. Vance set off to Pakistan this morning for negotiations over the war in Iran.
If the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive. So we're going to try to have a positive negotiation. The president has gave us some pretty clear guidelines. And
after Trump's threat to wipe out Iran, he sent Vance to resolve their 6-week conflict. And Vance's arrival marks a rare moment of U.S. government engagement with Iran. Since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, most direct contact had occurred in 2013 during Barack Obama's presidency. Because of this, Pakistan tightened its security when expecting J.D. Vance.
First Lady Melania Trump making headlines in a special announcement yesterday when she declared herself not an Epstein victim.
I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998.
In her remarks, Melania Trump said, quote, "The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect," though she did not elaborate on who those individuals were. An MS Now reporter confirmed that President Donald Trump said he did not know the First Lady was going to make a public statement on this issue. The First Lady called for a public hearing for the Epstein controversy to allow survivors to testify before Congress. At that moment, oversight Democrats have a shadow hearing scheduled for May with Epstein survivors in Palm Beach, Florida. Mayor Michelle Wu reviewed her $4.9 billion budget proposal for 2027 fiscal year. This decision will cut hundreds of vacant positions at City Hall and slash grant programs. All this in an effort to improve the city's financial state in the midst of a national economic crisis. Wu's proposal will increase spending by 2%, the smallest year-over-year increase the city has seen since 2009. It is now the City Council's job over the next several months to review and either approve, reject, or change this proposal.
Senator Ed Markey is joining local clergy in calling for an end to the war in Iran and President Trump's removal from office. He spoke at the Embrace Memorial in the Boston Common, urging peace after a new 2-week ceasefire. Markey says he supports limiting presidential war powers, but more action is needed, such as cutting off funding. We now go to our science policy correspondent, Lena Gustafson. Lena?
Lee Zeldin, administrator of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, delivered a speech denying the adverse effects of climate change at a conference Wednesday. Zeldin was the event's keynote speaker, refuting scientifically proven facts about climate change, including the negative effects of carbon dioxide emissions and natural gas. President Donald Trump appears to be considering Zeldin for the office of Attorney General. President Donald Trump's live call with the crew of Artemis II has gone viral. After congratulating the 6 astronauts for making history, an apparent 9-second delay created a long moment of silence. The awkward exchange has garnered millions of views on social media, and President Trump concluded the call by inviting the astronauts to the White House. The FDA has approved Eli Lilly's once-daily oral GLP-1 pill, Foundayo, for the treatment of adult obesity. This is the second oral GLP-1 to be approved by the administration, after Wegovy was approved in December of last year. A recent clinical trial suggests that oral GLP-1 medications may also lower blood sugar, as well as or even better than traditional semaglutides for the treatment of diabetes. That's all for Science News today. Back to you at the desk.
And a story.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner!
Go. Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the family. We're the family. Come on. Yeah! Oh, I thought you were on my team. Wait, I don't know. Just...
Welcome back.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement has released the wife of a U.S. Army staff sergeant after she was arrested at the military base where he was stationed. Sergeant Matthew Blank and Annie Ramos had gotten married just days before. Ramos, who was born in Honduras, was only 20 months old when she was issued an order of removal, putting her at risk of deportation at any moment. While her status remains undetermined, Ramos is eligible for deferred action for childhood arrivals, but the program remains closed for new applicants while it undergoes court battles.
Israel's attacks in Lebanon this week are threatening to derail the fragile 2-week ceasefire with Iran that delays all large-scale bomb attacks.
It is clear the ceasefire is fragile, and we have to do everything that it holds so that actually the parties can sit down and negotiate on all the issues that are of concern, not only the nuclear issue.
The decision for the ceasefire came just hours before a deadline for possible U.S. strikes on Iran. Trump says was willing to pause the attacks for time to give countries a chance to reach a longer-term deal. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance says Lebanon was never included in the ceasefire deal. And now oil prices are driving U.S. inflation to the highest it's been in 2 years. We go to our business correspondent, Anthony Ciano, for the latest on business news.
CNBC reports that Disney is planning to lay off about 1,000 employees. The latest cost-cutting initiative comes just a month after Josh D'Amaro became CEO. Layoffs are reported to be mainly affecting Disney's marketing department. When layoffs were announced Thursday, Disney's stock immediately started to decline. Oil prices have creeped back up after briefly lowering following the U.S. and Iran ceasefire. The rise up came directly after the Strait of Hormuz closed once again after Israeli attacks on Beirut. Even after the opening of the strait, many tanker ships hesitated to move through the waterway, fearing the fragile truce. Israel called for direct negotiations with Lebanon yesterday, marking a potential for oil prices to decrease once again. The United States Justice Department has officially opened an investigation into the NFL. The DOJ is investigating practices surrounding subscription fees where fans have allegedly pay on multiple platforms to view games. The NFL has since said in a statement that they are among the most accessible in the sports and entertainment industry, with over 87% of their games on free streaming services. That's all I have for business news today. Back to you at the desk.
American journalist Shetty Kittleson was released after being kidnapped from Baghdad street corner last week. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed her release. Iran-backed militia Kataib Hezbollah freed Kittleson on a condition that she must leave the country immediately upon her release. This was just one of many attacks that were Iran-backed militias in Iraq that they launched on the U.S. facilities in the country since the beginning of the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran.
The so-called ketamine queen, Jasveen Sangha, has been sentenced to 15 years in prison for the death of actor Matthew Perry.
You have to have a heart of stone to wake up every morning and make a business out of feeding off the addictions of vulnerable people who are desperate for drugs.
Prosecutors say she supplied the ketamine that led to Perry's overdose in 2023. Authorities say she ran a drug operation in Los Angeles, selling multiple drugs to wealthy clients before the actor's death. This is one of several sentencings in the case, as others are expected in the coming months. Coming up, we talk international news.
Stick with us.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner!
Go. Excellent. Soccer's fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the family. Help out. Yeah! Oh, I thought you were on my team. Wait.
Welcome back. Hundreds of women marched in Havana, Cuba in protest of the de facto oil blockade that the United States has imposed on the island. This comes after decisions from the Trump administration and their actions to cut off Cuba from its foreign oil imports, all part of a plan to destabilize its government. In recent weeks, the blockade has eased as the administration allowed a Russian oil tanker to reach Cuba. The U.S. and Cuba have been in negotiations in recent weeks to lift the blockade, and Russia has announced its plans to send a second oil tanker to Cuba.
President Trump held back from pulling out the NATO alliance after a meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Wednesday.
He is clearly disappointed with many NATO allies, and I can see his point. But at the same time, I was also able to point to the fact that the large majority of European nations has been helpful.
This comes after weeks of what Trump believes is Europe's weak response to the war in Iran. Trump said in advance of the meeting that they were planning to discuss the possibility of the U.S. exiting the alliance. But a Trump post on social media post-meeting made no mention of the U.S.'s depart and instead simply contained complaints about the alliance.
And a rare visit in China, Taiwan's main opposition leader, Chairwoman Cheng Li-won, landed in China on Tuesday for what she says is aimed at building cross-strait peace. This comes as the Chinese government warned Beijing will seek to stop U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. Before her departure for Shanghai, Cheng told journalists that Taiwan, quote, must do everything in our power to prevent war from breaking out. The United States approved the sale of $11 billion worth of arms to Taiwan back in December. Cheng has insisted she supports Taiwan for having a strong defense, but said the island does not have to choose between Beijing and Washington.
The husband of Lynette Hooker, who went overboard in the Bahamas, has been arrested, according to police.
I just want to know the truth. I don't want him to be in trouble. I just hope this was a freak accident, but I don't want it to just be swept under the rug. So I would like to just know.
He says she fell off the small boat while traveling with him near the Abaco Islands after her husband reported her missing and claims he tried to save her, but strong currents moved her away. He is now being questioned as the investigation continues. No charges have been filed. The Artemis 2 mission to the moon is nearing its completion, preparing for its splashdown today. Their liftoff took place on April 1st, where NASA sent 4 astronauts to the moon for the first time since 1972. During the mission, the Orion systems in deep space were evaluated through a series of tests. The splashdown is expected to occur at 7:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and can be watched live across multiple streaming platforms.
That's all for Political Pulse.
Join us next time and make sure to follow WEBN-TV on Instagram and subscribe to WEBN Boston on YouTube.